You aren't as bad as they say you are, but you're not as good as you think you are. Quoted by Hall of Fame coach, you might know him, Bill Cowher. And that was my takeaway. That was my overall thought coming out of rewatching the game this morning. Because you know what? Coming into this Browns week, what was I saying? I don't think we're that far off. We were talking about Tomlin being a coach of the year candidate. And I still weirdly feel that way. Not necessarily saying the coach of the year candidate thing, because I know a lot of people don't want to hear that now. But I don't think we're as far off as what we think we are right now on this overreaction Monday. I don't think yesterday was as bad as a lot of people think we were. I'm not only talking the quarterback, I'm not only talking the offense. Now, the defense played good. We all can agree with that. But everyone's thinking the offense held us back so much. The quarterback sucks. He ain't it. Bench Pickett. I don't think it was that bad. And there's reasons for it that we'll get into in today's show. I don't think it is just like, hey, the players want to play like this. I do feel like Tomlin and the coaching staff is dialing this up for us as like a way to win games. Like, this is our formula. And we've talked about this, but I think it was on display yesterday, and it was definitely something to think about in terms of the whole context of the game after you listen to Coach Tomlin's press conference and how he approached going into this game. So we'll get into Steelers deeply because we are going to discuss some Coach Tomlin. First, though, Najee Harris had a lot of things to say yesterday. A lot of things, but nothing stuck out more to me than this video. He was asked whether or not he feels like other teams know what plays we're running, if we're predictable. And here's his reaction. Well, hold on. I botched this up. There we go. This works better. Just look at his reaction. So he gets asked the question, pauses for a second, does the little smirk, and is like, yeah, I think you guys know what the answer is. And he goes on to even say himself, because I got quotes here, and there's more quotes from him. He goes on to say, yeah, in some situations, to be honest with you. Goes on to elaborate. I just don't know what to do. I'm stuck in this situation where I just don't have an answer to it, and I don't have an answer to it. And all I can do is just ride the wave. Also goes on to just talk about the organization, the team right now, behind the scenes, the locker room. He says there's just a lot of stuff that just goes around that you guys don't see. And I guess I'm trying to say I'm just at a point where I'm tired of this bleep. You could do two things. You could look at the record and say, okay, we're still good right now. Or we could look at the record and be like, if we keep playing like this type of football, how long does that bleep going to last? I look at it as, how long is that bleep going to last? Y'all could look at it like it's a good record, but I mean, it's the NFL. Winning how we did, it's not going to get us nowhere. Says, is it fixable? Yeah, but are we going to fix it? Bleep. It actually sounds like he's taking a different approach than me to yesterday's game. Now, I do think stuff needs fixed. I do think stuff needs to be addressed. But I think there also can be a case made that we went up against a pretty decent team this year. And it's hard to believe because it is the Browns. We know how we feel about the Browns here, Steeler Nation. The Browns is the Browns. They always find a way to screw things up. But their defense is pretty decent. Their defense is pretty good. Again, I do think fixes can be made. There are solutions that can be had, but it's tough because these quotes have me feeling two ways. One is this is just more of what we continue to hear about this offense, that defenses find us very predictable. They basically know what plays we're running. And if anything, I do think Najee saying this helps the case for Najee truthers. Like those that bash me for getting on Najee because I think Jaylen Warren's such a better running back. Jaylen Warren should be RB1. Like these quotes go hand in hand with just how I feel every time Najee's out there. It does feel like when Najee's out there, it's like a 70 to 80% chance we're just going to run the ball up the middle with him. And defenses have to be keying on that. So who does that come on? That goes on the offensive coordinator. That goes on the play calling. That goes on the schemes and trying to be predictable versus unpredictable. Like I think we are being too predictable every time Najee Harris is out there. So I think those quotes, if anything, if you want to look into them a little bit more, I do think they lean more to the Najee truthers way. And I will give that benefit of the doubt because I do see that every time Najee's out there, the offense does feel like it stalls in a way. But I also think we really tip the defense off by having Tutu in the backfield saying that, hey, we're going to run it like 70 to 80% of the time. And Najee Harris is not that big of a threat in the passing game. So don't even worry about him. So that's what's going on there. I'm with Najee. I'm with Najee because we do keep seeing this whole predictability stuff pop up with the offense. It's almost like we're the anti-Patriots. Patriots had to go behind the scenes and steal plays from the teams they were playing, videotape behind the scenes. We're just telegraphing it and giving the plays away for free to our opponents. But I also weirdly think we're still not too far off. That's the other part of all this. Next, though, Myles Jack looks like he's going to be back. I don't know if you guys saw any official news. Is he signed yet? Like, sealed up? He's on the team? Or we're still waiting for that information? But Ian Rappaport said Myles Jack is in the building today to take a physical. And if all goes well, sources say the plan is to sign with the Steelers practice squad back from retirement. So that's good. There's nothing wrong with this. We could use the inside linebacker depth. I don't think our linebackers killed us by any stretch of the imagination yesterday. In fact, they were very helpful. Landon Roberts had an awesome game. But what happens when we play a more pass-happy team and we need one of our inside linebackers to cover the running backs and tight ends at, a solid level, a good level? Because Landon Roberts, that's really not his cup of tea. Michael Walker, there's a reason the Falcons got rid of him. The Bears got rid of him. He was on our practice squad for a few weeks, and we just picked him up. Like, he is a little bit more of an athletic inside linebacker. I don't know if we can trust him to the degree of Myles Jack, though, because Myles Jack was really good for us last year. Outside of him getting hurt in that last month, he wasn't the same. But, yeah, I thought he was solid in coverage. He was almost like a Quan Alexander for us last year. Less aggressive Quan. I think if you compared the two, Quan definitely the better player in his short stint with the Steelers versus Myles Jack all of last year. But I don't think Myles Jack is like that far off from an athleticism standpoint and at least what he could give us in coverage versus Quan Alexander. So I guess the whole trade business and retiring didn't really work out for him that well. Speaking of Myles, though, I thought this was pretty funny when I saw it pop up on Twitter yesterday. Myles Garrett almost got Steeler Nation scared. I mean, had us thinking. Luckily, Broderick Jones, even though he wasn't around in 2019 for the helmet incident, he's well versed in Steelers history to know Myles Garrett should not be holding a Steelers helmet. Look at him. Yeah. Not again, Myles. Not this time, buddy. But even if Myles, it wouldn't have been a full circle moment because even if Myles did hit Kenny in the head with that, we know Mason wouldn't have gotten in for the redemption. We would have just went to Mitch for the backup. And I know a lot of you guys probably wanted Myles to hit Kenny in the head and get him out of that game. But no, didn't happen. Luckily, Broderick Jones was there to save the day. And then finally for Steelers Deekly on a Monday, let's talk about some of these Mike Tomlin quotes. And this goes back to my intro here. And what we're going to mainly talk about today is how to fix this Steelers offense. So this is going to be a good segue for all that. We'll talk the Mike Tomlin quotes, and then we'll get into, some of the solutions, some of the ways to fix the Steelers offense, and then I'll check in with the chat as well. But here's what Mike Tomlin had to say. I know a lot of us are frustrated with how the game turned out, the game flow was, how lackluster the offense was. But here was Tomlin's opening statement in his press conference yesterday. Man, really exactly the type of game we expected. I'm not going to lie. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not at all. Because yesterday was pretty much exactly the way we've been winning this year. Exactly the way. Is it optimal? No, I don't think so. But it has been a strategy, and it has worked. Now, I don't think you necessarily have to have an anemic offense. I know what we're trying to do. We're trying to be more conservative, not turn the ball over. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have an anemic offense. But that's what we've been doing. Offense, just keep us around. Don't turn the ball over. Defense, make some plays. Keep it close in the fourth, whether it's tied, whether we're down a little bit, whatever it is. And we're going to come out of there with the victory. And then particularly in this game, when you look at the Browns and see that they have a good defense, like I can understand why that was our approach. I can understand because it has worked and it was about to work. We had 2 opportunities yesterday. 5 minutes left. We're at the Browns 40-yard line. Like we got to put our foot on the gas. We got to figure out a way to score there. Why do we have to wait for us to punt it, the Browns to get the ball back, and then for them to punt it back to us and it to be like a minute 30 left to actually put our foot on the gas and try to win the game? Why does it got to be like that? The margin of error is so thin. He was also asked about Pickett, if he thinks Pickett is losing his confidence. Tomlin says no. I think the Browns had a lot to do with it. I'd be disingenuous if I didn't compliment them on their players, their schematics, and how they played today. Fair. Could Pickett have been better? And we're going to talk more about Pickett because, as I said, we're going to delve into a lot of things offense related, how to fix the offense, what's going on with Pickett in the latter half of this stream. It's a fair statement. Both of those statements I just went over, the first 2, very fair. And then the last one, this is from @SteelersDB from Twitter. Got a Tomlin quote from the press conference yesterday here as well. The passing game, this is the question. The passing game has had some trouble getting going for the last month now. What do you think needs to change there? Tomlin, I don't know if you could really describe it as a tough time to get going. Maybe we just have run it really effectively the last few weeks. Fair statement. I think both can be true, right? I think both can be true. The passing game has had some trouble getting going, but we also have run the ball very effectively. So if we're running the ball good, like in last week's Packers game, we're going for 200 yards on the ground. Do we need to air it out? Do we need to be super aggressive? Is that a must? Is it an add-on we would like to have at our disposal? Yes, 100%. I'm with that. But is it something we must do to come out of the stadium with a win, particularly in that Packers game? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I do think yesterday should be a wake-up call in a way going forward that, like, we got to pick it up. Like, we got to pick it up. We can't be relying on the final drive every time. It has worked pretty much every time this year, right? I think it's worked literally every time. But yesterday was an example that if you're just solely relying on that, margin of error is thin. If you can't connect on that final series, you're going to give the other team an opportunity, and that's what happened. Browns went down, scored, won the game. All right, before I get to the main topic here, let's check in with the chat, get a feel for what you guys are saying. And I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't liking me right now, aren't liking what I'm saying. Remix 84 says Tomlin can't say Kenny sucks. He's the head coach. You got to show he has confidence in his quarterback, of course. But it goes back to Tomlin's quotes. Like, this is how he's trying to play. This is how he's trying to win games. So why are we putting that all on Kenny? Because we want to see more from Kenny, but I don't know if the coaching staff is allowing it to that degree. If we're just talking about the Browns game, because this is what's interesting. This is why I said what I said in the intro, why I don't think we're that far off. I'm just going to look at each game individually. Let's go over the last 3 games. Let's go over the Titans game on Thursday Night Football. Let's go over the Packers game last week, and let's go over the Browns game. Titans game. Was the offense that conservative? No, I don't think. Vibes Gemini says because Kenny can't execute. So I brought that up from the Titans game. Kenny missed some throws. I'll admit that 100%. Kenny missed some throws. Was that the Pickens toe tap one too? Maybe Deontay had a drop. Like there wasn't perfect execution on offense. So we had what was it? Was it like low 20s? Or was it 20? I can't remember exactly. Was it low 20s? 23 something? Was it 23-19 we won? Or was that last week? Either way, we had low 20s. Titans game. I think we all can agree. Could have easily had 10 more points. Could have been 30. And that was just running the offense as we did against the Titans. That's really not changing anything. That's just having the players execute. So are we really that conservative? Are we really not trying to make risks like that? Food for thought. Or was that just the approach we were going with for that Titans game? Packers game, we got off the gates blazing. 17 points first 3 drives. 2 touchdowns first 2 series, and then a field goal for the 3rd series. Now, did things get a little lackluster in the 3rd? Sure. But how the game flow dictated things, I didn't think we had to be crazy aggressive. Keep it close, get to the 4th, win the game. That has what's worked. Now, again, I don't think it's the best mentality of all time, but in terms of winning that individual game, I get it. But can we say the offense was that conservative or that handcuffed in the Packers game when we come out guns blazing? First 3 drives, 17 points. Now going into the Browns game, Browns are a better team than the Titans and the Packers, no? Way better defense than the Titans and Packers, no? So I could see why, especially witnessing how the game played out, I could see why we would maybe be trying to protect Pickett a little bit more, trying to be even more conservative going into this game. Going up against unexperienced quarterback in DTR, a Browns team that would be playing a little conservative, like keep it close, get the final drive. Like I get it. I witnessed how the whole game played out. I witnessed it because whenever we would drop back to pass, and this is why I don't get all the Pickett hate from yesterday's game. If anything, I think you could hate on Pickett more for the Titans game. I don't know about the Packers one, but the Titans game specifically, we left points out on the board because Kenny missed throws. I'll admit that 100%. But yesterday's game, I asked you guys the question, what did Pickett do so bad yesterday? What was so egregious? My 2 things that I think he could have done better at was I thought he checked down a little too early on maybe 2 or 3 passes. And then we needed some better playmaking out of him. Like when the play broke down, could we have gotten some better playmaking? But outside of that, what did he do that was so terrible? Because there was probably at least 4 or 5 times where we would call a screenplay and the play was broken up immediately. There were other plays where 4 or 5 times Kenny would drop back and he would have to run for his life immediately and either throw the ball away or whatnot. And then, that would be attributed as an incompletion. Other times, maybe 2 times, passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. Deontay, could you argue a drop or 2? Like, what did you want out of him yesterday? What more did you want out of? I just don't think things were there for not only him, but this offense as a whole. Like the O-line did not play good. The O-line did not play good. I think some of Canada's play calls were not good. So yesterday, I don't think yesterday's big takeaway was Kenny is like so bad. Again, if you want to talk about the Titans game, you want to talk about the Packers game, maybe he left a pass or 2 out there. Sure, but I don't know if yesterday was the game. I don't think the coaches were giving him much to work with. And when we did try, dude was under duress. Now, did he check down too early a couple times? Yeah, I'll admit that. Did he play good? Did he play amazing? No, I'm not saying that at all. But in terms of just taking yesterday's game and saying Kenny ain't it, Kenny ain't the guy, I just feel like it's a stretch. I feel like it's a stretch. Is Kenny playing amazing? Because we could take these last 2-3 games. No, I don't think he is playing amazing. I don't think he's playing to that elite level that I predicted him to be. Is he playing fine? Is he playing good enough for us to win? Yeah, and I think yesterday was a case of that. I do. A couple other times there were miscommunications between him and Deontay, between him and the receivers. It's like, is that all on Pickett? Is the O-line playing as poorly as it did yesterday on Pickett? Is some of the play calls that we were getting from Canada yesterday on Pickett? Is the miscommunications between Kenny and the receiver all on Pickett? Sure, some of it can be on Pickett. No doubt. 50-50. He said. Who was it on? But yeah, that was some of my thoughts after rewatching the game. Tommy Vincent, 10 points is unacceptable though. If Ben played like this, we would have sent him packing. Here's what it comes down to me. It's 10-10, fourth quarter, final drive. We got to deliver the goods. That's it. Throw out everything that happened before the game. We got to deliver the goods. That's how the game played out. I think that's how Tomlin and the coaching staff came into it, thinking like this is how we got to win. This is how we got to play ball. This is how we got to win. This is how we get out of the stadium with a dub. And we got to that point where it is 10-10. We have the ball. Minute 30 left. And you could even talk about the time we got the ball with 5 minutes left at the Browns 40. You just got to deliver. I think we're singing a different tune if we get the game-winning drive. Could you still have concerns about Kenny? Sure. We need to do more throughout the whole game. But I don't know if yesterday was it, just considering all those other factors at play. Did Kenny have a bad game? Is that what everyone wants me to say? Sure. The result is the result. We did have the ball, final drive. We had opportunities late in the game, and we lost. Kenny did miss some throws, but I think there were a lot of other factors that played into not only Kenny's performance yesterday, but the offense as a whole. Zodom73, what about the constant 3 and outs? Your opinion, please. Yeah, you just got to watch the game. Like, those aren't all on Kenny. I mean, there's plays where it's 3rd and short, dude drops back. The pressure's there within a second or two. Both sides. Left side and right side. Did he check down a couple times? There was one he checked down to Najee. Not the biggest fan of. There's another one he checked down to Darnell Washington. Not the biggest fan of. I mentioned that. Yeah, if I had to critique yesterday's game, maybe he bailed out of plays a little too early. And then when the play did break down, we could have used another play or two of just overall playmaking. You know what I mean? Making things happen when it's not all there for you. C-Mills 2 says, Deke, thoughts on Najee's comments after the game? I did talk about that a little bit in the intro. It's interesting. Very interesting, because it's also coming from a dude that said players got to execute. It's not all in the play calling. But he obviously hinted at the play calling has been a big issue in the defense. Defenses know what we're doing. Very interesting. I see why he's frustrated. I think a lot of us are frustrated, right? I think a lot of us are. We took a step back. We did. We've taken 2 steps forward since the bye, but this was a step back. And now, with us going back towards the negative side of things, with us going back into the hole that we were those first 4 or 5 weeks as an offense, I think we're wondering, are we ever going to get over like that hump? Are we ever going to find our full potential as an offense? Are we ever going to? And Bradley Beal brings up in the chat, all under Canada. Yeah, I mean, he has been the constant with this offense underperforming these last 3 years. No matter the quarterback, no matter the players, he has been the constant. And we're getting way too many weird vibes right now. Not only from Najee, but you're seeing the body language on the sideline with Pickett. You're seeing Pickett's press conference where he's talking about, yeah, Browns didn't come out in the defense we thought they were going to. We thought they were going to do a lot of man, but then it was zone. We got to adjust quicker. Adjust quicker. Like, isn't that on our coaching? Isn't that on our coaching, the play caller, to set up our offense in the best position in the middle of the game? No? Get things done. Make adjustments. Like, that's their job. That's their job. We're seeing the stuff with Pickens, social media. Deontay's going back and forth with it on a fan on social media about him running the right route or not. There's just too many things that keep popping up. Not only from our team, you're hearing it from the opposition saying, yeah, we knew they were going to run that play. There's a lot of predictable stuff. Again, if the players play well, if the players execute, that stuff gets brushed aside. Because we saw in the Titans game, Packers game, the offense looked better. No matter how predictable it is or whatnot, the offense was better because we did see the players play better. Now, we did go up against lesser opponents in those two games versus the Browns and yesterday's, but we will play better. But at the same time, when you're looking at the season as a whole, a full sample size of what you should be getting from your offensive coordinator, like it shouldn't just be, all right, this pops up like in a couple games, 2-3 games where, okay, the offense does look better, right? Offense looks better. You need it. You need it like the whole season. You need it from like, 10, 11 game stretch where your coordinator is putting the team in the best position to win. Your coordinator is putting the offense in the best play calls possible. I don't know if I don't know. We can't say that Canada has done that consistently throughout his career as the Steelers offensive coordinator. I think that's a fact. No. So if you do have questions about Kenny, if you do have your concerns about Kenny, fine, whatever. I've seen enough from Kenny that I do think he can be a guy for us, for sure. You talk about the fourth quarter stuff. I've seen his accuracy is there. I do think he has an NFL level talent arm. I've seen great throws from him. I've seen him wheel and deal like on drives, like 90, 95-yard drives, wheel and deal. So enough is there for me to believe that we could roll with Pickett going forward. At least we should get the opportunity to see what it looks like without Matt Canada. I think that's fair, right? I think that's very fair. Because yesterday the offense wasn't it. Just overall, for sure. For sure. So if this continues, then yeah, we're back to where we were week 5 heading into the bye. What do we do? I mean, I called for firing Canada. We didn't go that way. Would it be justified if we did it now? I'd say yeah, but we all know it's not going to happen. And weirdly too, I still don't think we're that off because I really feel like we meant to play the way that we did yesterday. I really did. I think it was on purpose. I don't know if that's the best strategy, but we were a drive away from winning the game. It was 10-10, and we had the ball, minute 30 left. So we couldn't have been too far off with our thinking going into yesterday's game. We couldn't have been too far off of like, hey, this is how we're going to win the game. Now, what does that mean for Pickett being the guy? Because obviously it doesn't feel like we're letting Pickett sling it out. And that's my other thing for the Pickett haters, the ones that are questioning Kenny and being like, is he the guy? He's too conservative. He ain't it. Look at the stats. I don't think we're asking him to do a lot. Now, can that be fine for this year and winning games? We've seen it's been working for the most part. But does that work out for Kenny being the long-term answer and being the guy? That's a whole different story. Absolutely whole different story. And I get that. But I would like to see if Kenny can be the guy, at least give him a chance at doing it under a different coordinator. That's not Matt Canada. JJ 200. It's tough to say. You're bringing up they know he can't do more. It's tough to say that because whenever we have the ball a minute 30, we just do 3 passes in a row. I feel like that's showing confidence in your quarterback to get it done. But I do think they got some training wheels. They got some handcuffs on him throughout the game to just say, like, hey, don't turn this ball over. Don't turn this ball over. The plays are a whole nother story. The all-22 didn't even come out. People are talking about throwing across the middle. There's all these plays across the middle. I saw one play being brought up, the Deontay slant, and Kenny missed it. Again, there was pressure right in his face. Outside of that, are there things really being dialed up in the middle of the field? Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff to the outside. A lot of stuff. Let me go on. You know what? Let me do a poll because I'm seeing a lot of this today. Did I hit everything I need to hit on in terms of like the Steelers offense? Because you guys were bringing it up in the chat and I was just reacting to it. Yeah, I got some more stuff I could bring up. Let me do a quick poll. Let me just bring up another couple tidbits, as like food for thought. Quarterback for next week. Should I even include Mitch? I'll include Mitch. I don't think any of you guys are going to answer Mitch, but we'll see. We'll see if he gets any love. Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky. Because now I'm seeing everyone wants to go back to Mason. Okay, I think this is going to work. Did that work? Everyone wants to go back to Mason, the dude that we ran out of town just a few years ago. That, we would retire. A lot of people would retire as a Steelers fan if we ever were to try to build a future around him. Think of that. 2 years ago, after Ben retired, we're in the quarterback market. We signed Mitch and everything. What would have your reaction have been if we didn't sign Mitch or we didn't draft Kenny? And if it was Mason going into, was it 2022? If it was Mason as our starting quarterback, you feel that amazing about it back then? Come on. All of a sudden we want to go back to that guy? Kenny has shown us a lot more than Mason ever has as a starting quarterback. Kenny has delivered the game-winning drives. Kenny has delivered. Kenny has improved pretty much every game throughout his Steelers career. Now, it's arguable over this season, right? There's been some ups and downs and whatnot. But for the most part, he's improved. Mason kind of like regressed from the start. And outside of him popping in as a backup here and there and having a throw or two, really was never consistent for us. Or at least the caveat with Kenny is you could trust the dude late in games. The dude has been consistently improving. Mason? Nah. Like, you mean to tell me we put Mason in yesterday's game, it solves everything? No, I think it's probably worse. I think it's probably worse. Uncut Pit Talk says should have never got rid of 7. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here, man. I was trying to warn people. I tried to warn people. When you have the GOAT, you don't take the GOAT for granted. But pretty much all Pittsburgh did. That was probably at the time, 85% of fans were ready to move on from 7. They thought it was 7's fault. They thought when 7 was quarterback in his last season in 2021, they thought us having the worst offensive line in the league was 7's fault. They thought having Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson as a receivers, Deontay dropping some balls here and there, although that year wasn't his worst year, but they thought that was 7's fault. They thought having the worst rush defense in the league in 2021 was 7's fault. They thought having Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator was 7's fault. They thought having Kendrick Green as 7's final season center was 7's fault. Yeah. Didn't add up. Yet we still made the playoffs. 7 overcame the sabotage. He overcame the adversity. Still led that broken team to the playoffs. Talking solutions. Trying to think about solutions with this offense. I was thinking you just fire Canada. Like, that's my main thing right now. I don't think it's Pickett. Could Pickett be better? Sure. Could the O-line be better? Definitely. Like, there's a lot of things going on. But sometimes you do need a fresh start. I mean, you saw it with the Bills at work. You see it all the time with hockey. If the players aren't responding, if you need a shakeup in morale, whatever it is, sometimes you got to have a scapegoat. Sometimes you got to just get something to flip the switch. And again, it would be justified. It's not like this isn't warranted. We've seen Canada's career here. It would definitely be warranted. It's been warranted. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be my grand solution. I also think a solution could be just rolling as we are in a way, because we got an easy schedule coming up. Not saying that's the be-all, end-all and guaranteeing us victories or anything, because we saw from yesterday's game we're going up against the Browns' third stringer, and we ended up losing. But we got time to get things right. We got some easy opponents. Now, I also understand the cries and the pleas, or the defenses that would say, we're playing easy teams, but what happens when we play good teams? Sure. I do think the Browns were a good team. Can we say the Browns are a good team? Does Deshaun Watson make them that much better yesterday? Because we took care of Deshaun Watson in week 2 on Monday Night Football. Like, even with Deshaun Watson, that game probably would have played out very similarly. And the Browns, unfortunately, could be a playoff team. They could be. So solution could be we let it play out. Not the one I like, but I also could see us righting the ship a little bit, because we did after the bye. We're going to be playing easier defenses. The Browns, by stats, are the number 1 defense. But a lot of people keep bringing up, the other quarterbacks around the league, comparison to Kenny Pickett. Like, why are these dudes like putting up these numbers? Why are they putting up these stats? My thing is this: they actually have offensive coordinators and play callers that have proven to be a success in the NFL. Like Tua. Remember Tua with Brian Flores? Tua, defensive-minded head coach. Everyone's out on him. They get Mike McDaniel. We see Tua now. Jordan Love has Matt LaFleur. Sam Howell has Eric Bieniemy down in Washington. Jared Goff, way back in the day. Remember, he was drafted by the Rams? He had Jeff Fisher, defensive-minded head coach. Gets Sean McVay, completely different story. And now he has this guy, Ben Johnson, with the Lions. He's reinvented his career. Josh Dobbs with the Vikings. We're seeing Josh Dobbs pop up so much. Oh, we had Josh Dobbs. Why is he doing so much better than Kenny Pickett? I mean, he's got Kevin O'Connell calling some plays, putting him in good positions. No? Now Josh Dobbs is playing good, but I would just like to see a coordinator here that has proven to be a success in the NFL that can maybe set ourselves up for better spots on offense than what we are. That's my thing. Bobby Slowick with CJ Stroud. And I get it. We can't put it all on the coordinator, but it's literally their job. It's literally their job to be putting us in the right position. I don't think it happens often enough with Matt Canada. It doesn't. I give him credit. He's improved a little bit since the bye, but I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's getting the job done. Took a step back this week against the Browns. So that would be my grand solution to what we could do right now. Switch it up. Get a different coordinator in here. We saw just what happened with the Bills. But I think that's it for today's show. I'm just checking in the chat real quick. Jay Stokes, 73, says, Kenny, a good preseason quarterback. Like I said, I'm never taking any stock in preseason again. Never. Mr. India, Leftwich for OC. Yeah, if we get rid of Canada, he's definitely a candidate. I think right now, if you get rid of Canada, you do what the Bills do. You just upgrade your quarterback coach. Mike Sullivan was a former OC back in the day with the Bucs. Actually led them to be a top 10 offense with Josh Freeman one year. He's capable of calling plays. So you don't have to completely switch the playbook, but maybe you get a guy that could get a better flow, knows how to call plays at the right time better. All right, I'm out of here, guys. That's my Monday reaction. I still think we could be all right. I don't think we're as bad as what people are saying, though, right now as we sit here today. Offense frustrating, took a step back. But think playoffs are very much ahead of us. Think contention, even for the division, is still very much ahead of us. So we'll see. I'll talk to you guys Wednesday. Be back around, I think around the same time, middle of the day. Hope you enjoyed, and peace.